Look at this. At first, you might think, what is this? A planet? Jupiter? No, it's an atom. A-T-O-M. So before we deep dive into what's inside an atom, we need to first know what an atom is. What is it? It's the smallest particle that cannot be broken down further in a chemical reaction. So within an atom, we have got all sorts of different things. It might look complicated at first, but when we deep dive into it, it's fairly simple. So in the centre, I've got this round middle. It's like the planet in the centre, and we call this the nucleus. It's this whole thing in the middle, and inside we've got some tiny, teeny small things, and they've got their own name. The plus, we call it a proton, and then for those, we call it a neutron. Protons and neutrons are both contained within the nucleus. And on the outer side, where you see all those rings, are electrons. We have many electrons, and they scatter around and they come into different layers of rings. In some atoms, there might only be a single layer, but in other atoms, they might go up to 8. So those are all electrons. So we know our new friend, and it's made up of protons, electrons, the nucleus, which contains the proton and the neutron. After meeting our 3 new friends, the proton, the neutron and the electron, we need to know about them and look into them. So we're going to look at them by relative mass, relative charge, and where it locates in an atom. So a proton has a relative mass of 1. Mass is how heavy it weighs. A neutron also is 1. But an electron, oh my god, it has a 1 over 1,840. In some places, they just go for 2,000 and round it off. But this is the accurate number. So I guess that's why it's so light that it floats on the rings, on the outskirt of the nucleus. So when counting about the mass in the periodic table, often we do not put the mass of the electron in. It's so light that it doesn't really make a big change to the full mass of the atom. Now we go to relative charge. A proton has a relative charge of 1, plus 1. So how do you remember that? It's a proton, and pro means full, therefore it's a plus. And a neutron has a relative charge of 0. A way to remember this is a neutron is neutral, so that's why it's a 0. It remains neutral. And for an electron, it is opposite a proton. It goes for a -1 relative charge. So where do they locate in an atom? As we've just discussed, the proton and the neutron both locate within the nucleus. But the electron stays out of it. so it's out of the nucleus. Like the rings. So those two are in the core, and then the electron is on the rings.